Imagine waking up to a phone call at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, the voice on the other end trembling with excitement, telling you your dad just won $50 million in the state lottery. You stumble out of bed, heart pounding, convinced it's a prank. But as you scroll through notification after notification, social media buzz, headline alerts, even a live news stream with your father on screen, you realize it's real. In those first 10 seconds, everything you thought you knew about family, money, and loyalty shatters into a million pieces. I never thought money could change a person so fast, but that morning proved me wrong. My dad, the same man who taught me how to ride a bike, who coached my Little League games and cheered me on at every recital, suddenly became someone I barely recognized. His laughter, once warm and grounding, took on a different tone, one of entitlement. And his eyes, once soft with love and pride, hardened into something calculating. For years, my dad had scraped by. He worked double shifts at the plant, tackled odd jobs, and always insisted on paying for my college tuition out of his own pocket. He complained constantly about bills, about rising prices, about the unfairness of life, but he never asked for help. My mom passed away when I was 10, so it was just the two of us against the world. We became a well-oiled machine. I did the cooking and laundry, he paid the rent and gas. We laughed over burned pancakes, shared secrets in the car on long drives, and built a fortress of trust between us. Then, out of nowhere, came that phone call. Within minutes, neighbors were knocking on our door. My phone buzzed non-stop with messages from relatives I barely knew. "Congratulations! Share a little with your sweet daughter. She deserves it." The news spread like wildfire. The community rallied around him, patting him on the back, asking for autographs. Even strangers wanted selfies. My dad, who always shrank away from attention, basked in the glow. He tasted power and decided he liked it. That afternoon, I went to visit him at his favorite diner, the place he's been going to since I was a kid. He sat at our old booth, arms folded, a smug grin plastered on his face. On the table lay a stack of lottery ticket stubs and an envelope. Inside was a preliminary check for $1 million, the first advance payment. My dad flipped it toward me, eyes gleaming. "Here, I want you to handle this for me." "Handle what?" I asked, reaching for the envelope. He shook his head. "Don't be cute. I want my money. $1 million, now." I stared at him, confused. Is this some kind of joke? He leaned forward. "I'm serious. I need $1 million by tonight. I don't trust banks, and between you and me, I don't want the State Department freezing my payout while I figure out taxes and lawyer fees. You know how these things go." My stomach twisted. He was asking me, his daughter, to withdraw $1 million from my own savings? I barely had $50,000 in my account, saved from part-time jobs and scholarships. $1 million was a fantasy number, a figure I'd seen in movies, not something I could actually pull out of thin air. When I balked, he slammed his fist on the table, rattling our coffee mugs. "Don't give me that look. You owe me. All those nights I stayed up worried when you had a test. All those times I repaired your car engine so you wouldn't get stranded. I paid for your therapy when you broke up with Tommy. You owe me $1 million. His tone was dark, demanding. The diner fell silent. People at neighboring tables glanced over, sensing the tension. I swallowed hard. Every fiber of my being told me this wasn't right. But he was my father, the man who raised me single-handedly, who sacrificed so much. How could I refuse him? I agreed to think about it and left in a daze. Outside, the sun felt harsh, like it was pointing out my guilt. I called my closest friend Jenna and spilled everything: the call, the news, the demand. She was furious on my behalf. "He can't do that. You're his daughter, not his ATM." But then she paused. Is there even a way to say no without destroying your relationship? I didn't know. Part of me believed he truly needed the cash, for taxes, for lawyers, for investment opportunities. The other part recognized that this was greed, plain and simple. My mind drifted back to childhood, the times he scraped pennies together to buy me a birthday cake, the garage sales he pushed me to host to fund my first car. He never once asked me for help then. Over the next 2 days, I followed him around like a shadow. He met with financial advisors, talked to lawyers, and drank heavily in celebration with old friends. Each time I brought up the subject of my savings, he brushed it off. "You've got it all in retirement accounts you can tap into. Do it discreetly. I don't want people knowing I'm your sugar daddy." His tone was condescending, as if I were a business partner negotiating a hostile takeover. I tried resisting. I froze my account, claimed there was an issue with the bank, even threatened to report identity theft if he pressed me. But he was relentless. Late at night, he'd send me text messages. "Remember who put a roof over your head. Don't make me regret giving you everything. I'm your father. Order the wire." Emotionally manipulating me, threatening guilt, and ego-stroking in equal measure. Then came the ultimatum. If I didn't come up with the million by Friday, he would cut me off completely. No more tuition payments, no rent contributions, no holiday presents ever again. He would list our house for sale, cash out every asset, and leave me with nothing. In his mind, that was justice, rewarding loyalty with financial partnership, punishing reluctance with abandonment. By Wednesday, my anxiety peaked. I called my aunt, hoping for backup. Instead, she gasped and dropped the phone. "He told you to give him $1 million? He's lost his mind." She refused to help, warning me that lending him anything now would ruin your future. "He's playing you, sweetie. Lottery money changes people. It made him think he's above you." I realized she was right. This wasn't about taxes or lawyers. It was about power. Suddenly, the man who once handed me crumpled dollar bills to buy ice cream, who taught me to read and tie shoelaces, now saw me as little more than a bank account. A bitter anger simmered inside me. I owed him nothing. And yet, I dreaded the thought of him following through on his threats. That night, I sat at my desk, head in hands, staring at the blinking cursor on my laptop. I researched law firms. Could I press charges for emotional coercion? Would anyone believe a daughter refusing to hand over money she already owned? Was it even legal to force me to relinquish my savings? My mind raced. Sleep evaded me. At dawn, I received a message. "Time's up. Wire me the $1 million. I'm at the lawyer's office." My chest tightened. I grabbed my car keys and drove to meet him, determined to confront him once and for all. When I arrived, he stood in the reception area of a sleek downtown office building, arms folded, the very picture of smug confidence. His lottery check was tucked under his arm like a prized possession. I approached him, voice trembling but resolute. "I'm done playing your game." He looked at me, eyes rising in amusement. "Oh, you think you have a choice?" He leaned closer. "You're signing over every penny you have. No phone calls, no excuses. Do it now." I took a deep breath, remembering all those years of love and support. "I am not your bank. I will not be extorted. If you try to take this from me by force, I will fight back." His jaw clenched. The moment hung between us, heavy as concrete. And then, just as I opened my mouth to continue, the receptionist called out, "Mr. Johnson, your client is here." His eyes darted to me, then back to the receptionist. "Go ahead. I'll be right there." I watched as he walked away, confident he'd won this round. But something inside me had shifted. No longer was I the obedient daughter who'd do anything to keep the peace. I was someone who would stand up, even if it meant risking everything. And that is where our story pauses, for now. A daughter cornered into defending her future against the man who raised her. A father, intoxicated by wealth, ready to burn bridges to secure his fortune. What happens next? Will I find a way to escape his demands without losing the home and memories we built? Or will his greed destroy us both? Stay with me, because the next chapter might just redefine what family really means. I followed him into the lawyer's office, my pulse drumming in my ears. The walls were lined with diplomas and framed photographs of handshakes with politicians. It was a temple of power and privilege, his new playground. I caught a glimpse of his reflection in the glass door, shoulders squared, chin lifted, as though he'd already won. Inside, the lawyer, slick suit, clipped tone, looked up from a mahogany desk. "Mr. Johnson, good, and you must be—" I squared my shoulders. "His daughter." He nodded, lips twitching into a polite smile. "Of course. Shall we proceed?" He gestured to a contract on the desk. The title read, "Assignment of Beneficial Interest and Assets." Beneath were a dozen clauses in legalese that would transfer my entire savings, retirement accounts, and any joint assets into Dad's control. My eyes flicked to Dad, standing beside the lawyer. He looked triumphant, relief flooding his expression as though the million had already vanished from my bank and landed safely in his lap. I swallowed against the dry lump in my throat. The lawyer cleared his throat. "Miss Tampson, please read carefully before signing. Section 5 outlines your acknowledgement that the funds are remitted voluntarily and irrevocably." My hand hovered over the pen. I thought of every scholarship dollar, every tip jar contribution from waitressing, every painstaking deposit. Those funds were my independence, my safety net. And here I was, about to hand them away because the man who'd raised me was drunk on power. I inhaled and closed my eyes. In that heartbeat, memories flooded. Dad teaching me to drive, encouraging me to go beyond my comfort zone, his voice trembling when I earned my master's degree. The way he whispered, "I'm proud of you," when I landed my first job. All those moments of genuine love and sacrifice. Could they coexist with this version of him demanding a ransom? "I'm sorry," I said softly, placing my pen down. Dad's face twisted. Confusion. Anger. A flicker of something like betrayal. "What do you mean, sorry? Sign the paper." "No," my voice firmed. "I will not." I met his gaze. "I love you, Dad, but I won't let you turn our relationship into this." Silence stretched. The lawyer cleared his throat, masking impatience. Dad's jaw clenched. "Are you refusing to comply with my request?" His tone was flat, legalistic, like he was discussing a contract breach, not his own daughter. "Yes," I said. "I'm refusing." My voice wavered for a second, then steadied. "Because I realize why you're doing this. It's not for taxes or fees. It's for control, and I won't give you that power." Dad slapped his hand on the desk. "You will do this. I'm giving you until the end of the day." His words were thunder, echoing off the polished wood. I stood. No more deadlines, no more threats. My heart thundered, but my spine felt straighter than ever. "I won't let you force me into bankruptcy or homelessness. I'm going to get legal advice. And if you try to touch my money, I will pursue every avenue to protect it." Dad rose too, looming over me. "You think you can fight me? I'm your father. You owe me respect, and now money." "I respect you," I countered, my voice ringing. "But respect isn't about obedience. It's about honesty and care. You've forgotten that." For a moment, something like recognition flashed in his eyes. The father I knew, but it vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by stubborn resolve. "Fine," he spat. "Do what you have to do, but don't come crying to me when you lose everything." I left that office feeling both liberated and terrified. As I walked down the marble corridor, each step felt like a declaration of independence. Outside, the sun had dipped low, casting long shadows across the city. My car sat waiting, hood warm from the day's heat. Over the next week, I followed through on my promise. I consulted a family lawyer recommended by Aunt Laura. She was fierce, an expert in coercion cases. She explained that emotional manipulation could be grounds for contesting any contract signed under duress. We drafted a cease and desist letter demanding Dad back off or risk legal action. I also met with my bank. They froze any transfers greater than $5,000 without dual authorization. I changed passwords, set up alerts, and locked down my accounts.
For the first time, I felt I had some leverage. Dad's reaction was fury. Texts poured in. "Why are you hiring a lawyer? Don't you trust me? I thought we were family. You're ruining everything." He called until my phone went to voicemail. His messages alternated between pleading apologies, "I'm sorry, I got carried away," and icy threats. "Remember what I told you about being cut off?" But I stood firm. I blocked his number when his words turned venomous. My lawyer drafted a protective agreement. Dad would be barred from contacting me professionally or personally regarding finances. If he violated it, he'd face contempt charges. And then something unexpected happened. My lawyer urged me to consider mediation. She believed that beneath his greed was fear, the fear of navigating unimaginable wealth alone. Lights of truth flickered in my mind. Would force and litigation heal our bond, or simply burn it to ashes? She convinced me to propose a mediator. I arranged a session in a neutral office. Dad arrived, stiff and wary. The mediator, a calm woman with gentle eyes, opened with ground rules. Speak from the I perspective, listen without interruption, focus on needs, not positions. I began, "I feel hurt and scared when you demand my savings. I see a man who raised me, and I want him back, not this stranger who sees me as an ATM. I need to feel safe and respected." His face softened. He rubbed his forehead, as though a headache pounded beneath. When it was his turn, he spoke haltingly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to push you. I was scared. I've never had this much money. I thought I could just take what I needed and you'd understand. I didn't think about the consequences." His words hung in the air. For the first time, I saw the vulnerable man behind the lottery windfall. The father who raised me from scratch, terrified he might lose everything he built. I felt my anger ebb, replaced by compassion. We talked for hours. The mediator guided us through fears and expectations. Dad admitted he needed help managing the funds. He was worried about taxes, about scams, about investing wisely. He feared being swindled and felt only his own child could be trusted. And I acknowledged that his accomplishment, winning the lottery, was monumental and scary. By the end of the session, we reached an agreement. Dad would transfer the lottery payout into a trust managed by a certified financial advisor. I would serve as co-trustee, but would have no personal claim to withdraw the principal without joint approval. We'd revisit the arrangement annually. He'd pay a stipend to me for living expenses, college, and investment in my future. And he would agree to family counseling to navigate this unexpected shift in dynamics. We shook hands. Dad's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I'm sorry, kiddo. I love you." I reached out, hugging him tight. "I love you too." Walking home that evening, twilight painting the sky, I felt a fragile hope that we could rebuild trust. The lottery had threatened to tear us apart, but perhaps it would also teach us about boundaries, respect, and unconditional love. So here we stand, a father and daughter, navigating wealth and legacy, testing the limits of love. We learn that money can corrupt and divide, but with empathy, boundaries, and a willingness to forgive, even the deepest rifts can mend. And as the door closed behind me that day, I knew our story was far from over. It was simply entering a new chapter, one where respect and understanding, not entitlement, would shape our family's future.